Welcome to the new episode of the Confidence and Connection podcast. Today's episode has been brought to you by Gym and Tonic Movement and their new online coaching program, You Glow Girl. You can see more about this program on their social media. Search at Gym and Tonic Movement. Trigger warning. Today's episode discusses severe postpartum depression and suicide.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. I will just get you to introduce yourself and then we'll crack on with your story.
Yeah, so my name's Shona. I'm 31 years old. I live out in Woodford.
Which I didn't know until so we're recording this at the Springfield Library. How far is Woodford from here?
It's about an hour and 20 was
Fuck
the drive.
I felt so bad. Shona's been really good. I'm like, don't stress about it, but I did not realise it was that far.
Honestly, I'm not going to say no to the quiet time and my choice of music or podcast to listen to. So, yeah, because my children are quite young. So,
Yes.
So, I have my daughter Emerson. She's 4, and my son Camden is about 16 months, I'd say. Yeah, so they're just little squishy, delicious little things at the moment.
Awesome.
And then my husband Evan, we've been married for 6 years and been together for 15. So when I was a kid, I just always wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. Yep. I've never wanted any career, any job. I just wanted to be mummy at home. So when we were trying to get pregnant, and it took a year to get pregnant.
Sorry, what appealed to you about that?
It just sounded like the perfect thing to do. Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to be that mum that was at home and baking. Cleaning. And... I don't bake.
Oh, good.
I don't
Box
bake.
tick.
Only sometimes. But I just wanted to be that mum that was just at home and baking. And I just had this image in my head of like this white picket fence, 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever. Yeah. Just that picture perfect snapshot. And just always wanted to do that. And I don't know why, I don't know where that came from, but it just was always so perfect to me.
Was your mum a stay-at-home mum?
She wanted to be. She wasn't able to.
Yep.
But she would speak about how much she wished that she had been able to stay at home with her kids and all that. So I feel really lucky that I can do it because it seems like such a luxury now to be able to do
with the cost
it.
Of living
It's so expensive just to be alive at the moment.
Yeah.
So
I think the pressure that's put on women as well to work, to be a stay-at-home mum, to run the household and things like that.
The mental load. Yeah. Like everything's just... It feels like it's all on us, but so I just always had that picture in my mind. This will be perfect. This is what I want it to be. So we started trying for Emmy. Yep. So it took us a year to get pregnant with her, and it was the typical you just need to relax and then it will happen sort of thing. And then it did eventually happen, and it was just textbook pregnancy, nothing exciting. I had a 23.5-hour labour with Em, and that was traumatic. It was horrific. And being first baby, you just sort of don't know what's going on. Even though we went to every class, I read all the stuff you're supposed to read. And come labour, I might as well have not done any of that research.
Yeah, okay.
And my mindset for labour with Emmy was... I just want the epidural and I'm just going to lay there and read a book and then she'll come out.
I love that.
I really...
Turning the pages. Do you know what? I packed my laptop because I had expected to be able to watch some TV in between contractions.
I had the iPad because I was like, this is... I'm not going to feel it.
I understand.
It doesn't have to be painful. Just
relax,
whatever.
Bliss.
Yeah, and so I got in there and first of all, having contractions in the car, and I have a video of me at home having a contraction and my shoulders are all bunched up and I'm just so fighting it. And because I just was like, what's going on? I don't want to do this anymore. It's too late for that. We're doing it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to do it. Take it back.
Just so tensed up.
Yeah.
And then getting into the hospital, got on the gas, which I loved. Do you have experience with the gas?
I had the gas with my second, not with my first.
Did you like it?
It made a hell of a lot of a difference.
I wanted to take the tank home.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was being stitched up afterwards and just sucking on the mask, and the nurse was like, take a break. And I'm like,
I was just up in the clouds.
Yeah.
I just loved it
Glorious.
so much. Had the giggles.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, so you do want an epidural, don't you? And I said, yeah, I do. Not just yet. I'm okay at the moment.
Yep, got the
and
gas.
they
Got
said,
my gas.
Yeah, and they said, well, the person that does the epidural is next door. If you want it, get it now. Otherwise, you'll be waiting hours.
Yeah, okay.
So I did sort of feel like I was pushed a little bit scared into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went, oh, okay, well, I don't want to wait hours. I'm already sort of freaking out, so I'll have it now. So I had it really earlier than I wanted.
Yeah, okay.
And from that point, you're just bedbound.
Yeah.
So I wasn't helping my body push her down or anything like that.
Yeah.
And looking back on that now, I do think I definitely was sort of pushed into it because once I had the epidural, there were no midwives coming into the room anymore. Oh. They were able to keep an eye on me from out there. Like I was just in the bed. They were like, okay, we can focus on someone else who's, birthing a different way or whatever. So I did that. Em actually ended up getting stuck in the coming down. So instead of her head being like chin down, she was sort of to the side a bit.
My daughter was like that too.
Yeah.
She came out with her forehead instead of the crown.
Yeah, well, I think, so she was here, but not where she was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it was like that for quite a while. And I think that was because of having that early epidural. Like I wasn't able to help myself do anything. And also at that time, my mindset was epidural, get the baby out. I don't care what happens, just get it out. Yeah. I ended up having, after 23 and a half hours, an emergency C-section. So to go through a day of labour and then a C-section, I had a 2.5 litre blood loss.
Jesus.
So Em was stuck for a while. The doctor came in and said, look, she's stuck this way. Do you want to try pushing? And I said, yes. So let's try pushing. So I had 3 really big pushes. The first one probably doesn't count because I pushed out of my vagina. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Pushed out of my vagina, and she was like, nope, push out of your bum like you're doing a poo. And I just remember thinking, that's not where the baby comes out. So I did the 2 big pushes, and I remember that sensation of feeling like you need to do a massive poo.
Yeah.
So I remember that push, that bearing down. And so I was pushing, and I was on my back pushing as well, which looking back now, like, that's just making it harder. Yeah. And I didn't know any of this stuff at the time, and they didn't say anything.
How old were you when you had your daughter?
I was 26, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 25, turning 26 that year. So did that, nothing happened. They said, look, we think it needs to be a C-section. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, oh my God, I had never considered a C-section. In the courses we did when they spoke about C-sections, I tuned out because I was like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Don't need to know, that's not going to happen. And then next minute, I'm being wheeled down for C-section. I've got a midwife next to me getting colostrum out for me.
Oh my
and
God.
That hurts because I haven't had that done before.
No, oh my
so
God.
she's milking,
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, she's just in there pulling colostrum out. We're going down the hall, getting scrubbed up, and I was just terrified. I was like, what the hell's happening? Oh, got in there, and it was an emergency, but it wasn't like a code 1 or whatever the highest code is. It was an emergency that it had to be done within 4 hours. So it wasn't a full-on emergency.
Time to be waiting though.
Yeah, but 4 hours of that pushing pain, like I thought my ass was going to explode. Yeah. And I remember being wheeled down there, and I was lifting my bum off the bed, and I was going, I need to push. And they were saying, don't push. And I was like, what do you mean don't push? Like, my ass is about to explode all over the hallway.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I got down there, got the C-section, had the big blood loss. I had Em placed next to my head for what felt like a few seconds. Then she was gone. I was wheeled into recovery. They actually separated Em and Emerson and Evan. The nurses took them up to the ward.
From you, they separated, yep.
Yeah, so I was by myself in recovery for, I think, 2 hours or 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, because I'd had such a big blood loss. I didn't know at the time that I could advocate for myself and say, do not take my baby from me. Mm-hmm. So I had no skin to skin. I wasn't breastfeeding her. And Evan said later that they put him in a room on the ward and just left him. And Emerson was screaming, starving. And Evan was like, they told me Shona was going to be right back. She's not here. This kid's screaming. What do I do? And I actually don't know if they gave the colostrum that they'd gotten from me. So by the time I actually got to hold her for the first time, she was like 3 hours old. And I think that really kick-started the trauma and the not bonding, because I think it was like 18 months before I was fully bonded, obsessed with her. So it was such a long time. And they sent us home from the hospital. I think you stay the 2 or 3 nights like you're supposed to. And they sent us home. They checked my bloods. They were like, yeah, you're all good. Like, your bloods are low, hemoglobin, whatever it is that they check. They're low, but they're okay. So you can go home. They didn't know I was prone to anemia. Neither did I. So we go home. I think it was literally the next afternoon, my legs just blew up out of nowhere, really swollen. And I started panicking. I was already overwhelmed, in pain. I was upset because I really don't feel like I got the birth that I deserved. So I was really it was just a really bad start to this thing that I always just wanted to do. There was no other option. I wanted to be mummy at home.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to the hospital, to the emergency room, and I remember, actually, no, we went to the doctor first, and I walked in, and the first thing she said when I sat down, she goes, "Why are you so pale?"
Yeah.
And I just burst into tears, and I was like, I've had a 23.5-hour labour, C-section, I lost a lot of blood, like, I just don't feel good, my legs are swollen. And so they were like, you just need to go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, got into emergency, and I remember I was just crying to the intake nurse, and I was just rambling to her, and I was just saying, my legs are swollen, I don't feel good, I'm pale, and I'm not bonding with my baby. And I remember they just were like, but you're holding your baby, like, you're okay, you're bonding. And I was like, no, I'm not, like, what is this thing? I don't want it, sort of thing. They got us back into hospital, checked my blood, and they went, oh, you need 2 bags of blood. So I had to have 2 bags of blood. I was, at that point, like, I just felt like it was one thing after another. So at that point, sitting in emergency, in a bay at emergency, I wasn't up in ward or whatever, I was just in a bay getting these blood transfusions. I had to stay in overnight so they could get the blood through, because it was 2 bags, it was a lot of blood. And I remember thinking, I am going to die. Not, I'm scared I'm going to die. I was past that. I was at the point where I was like, I know I'm going to die from this. And Evan was there with me and his mum, and I remember looking at them thinking, they'll have to take care of the baby with my mum. They'll be fine. She won't remember me. Emmy won't remember me, so she'll be fine. Evan will just have to deal with it, because I'm not coming home from the hospital. I was that sure that I was going to die. I was just so mentally not prepared, but just accepting.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. And so we went up to ward, and they had me up in Gen Pop. And I was saying to them, I want to go up to the maternity ward. Like, my baby's 2 days old, 3 days old, whatever. 3 days old, I think. And they were like, no, you're staying here. And I ended up getting in this argument with the bloody nurse. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I've just got a brand new baby. I don't want to be down here with all the sickies and whoever. I want to be up in maternity ward. And they kept saying no. And I ended up getting the social worker that I'd met in the... like, when you're pregnant, you go through that. You get, like, the social worker to, if you need them. I ended up calling her, and she came in, lit a fire under everyone's ass on board, and said, get her up to maternity now.
That's disgusting.
It was so bad. And so that took that. By the time I got up there, the midwives up there were like, we thought you were coming up hours ago. So no one had communicated with each other.
Did they tell you why they weren't going to send you up there?
They just were like, it's not necessary. She said, you don't need to go.
That makes no sense, though. You've got a tiny little baby.
And she pretty much was like, you're not taking up a bed up there when you can have this one here. And I just was like, you better get me up there, girlfriend. And so lucky Liz, who was the social worker, came in. She was able to advocate for me, get me up there.
Yeah, good.
Em had really bad jaundice as well, which I'm not sure what caused that. I can't remember. But... sometimes they're born with it. Yeah, in the hospital that I was at, there was a lot of conflicting advice. So with the jaundice, one midwife would come in and say, oh, do you want, just pop her next to the window, like the sunlight's really good for the jaundice. And I was like, yeah, righto. So I do that. 20 minutes later, another midwife comes in. What are you doing? She doesn't have sunscreen on. She's going to get sunburned. Move her away from the window. And I've just gone, oh my God, someone just told me to put her next to the window. Like,
oh my goodness.
I'm still getting blood transfusion this whole time. And that in itself was stressful because I have a needle phobia.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
So that in itself was stressful, but, you know, we did it. We got through. I didn't have much milk, which I think was because of the blood loss.
Yeah. And stress and trauma
stress
and cesarean.
Oh my God. And I think the blood loss can impact your milk supply. So
yeah.
Em was mixed fed from like day 3. It was that second visit in the hospital overnight where the midwife said in the middle of the night, do you want me to give her some formula? And I said no at first because I was like, no, she has to be breastfed. This is what you do when you have a baby. You breastfeed them.
Yeah.
And she just was like, okay, but if you want, I can just try her with 30 mils. And I said, okay.
Was she crying a lot at that point?
Yeah, she was really unsettled. So the midwife gave her 30 mils of formula. Emerson just passed out for 3 or 4 hours. And Evan and I were like, oh, formula. We're going to get some of that on our way home. Yeah. So she was always mixed fed from like 3 days old. But oh my God, it was
just strap it in. You've got blood, she's got formula straight into the veins.
So we got home. Em was about a week old when I was sitting in bed in the middle of the night and she was crying. And I remember saying to Evan, I'll just fucking feed it again. Just give it here. Talking about Em. Yeah. Like I was just so angry and exhausted and traumatized and in shock and just
trying to heal.
Nothing left. Trying to heal. I couldn't move with the C-section. And I remember breastfeeding her and I physically remember my blood going cold in my body and it was just panic. What have I done? I've made a huge mistake.
In having a baby?
Yep, in having a baby. And I still remember that blood just going, you know that panic you get where your blood just runs cold? I remember that. And I remember saying to Evan, I cannot keep doing this. I need to go to the doctor. So we went to the doctor for Emerson's 7-day checkup and I was put on antidepressants right then and there.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, you know, they're going to take a few weeks to work.
Yeah.
So you just got to get through the next few weeks. They worked within days.
Oh, good.
I think I was just so in need of them.
Yeah.
My brain chemicals were just so out of balance.
Yeah.
That I just needed them. And so we just sort of... Evan's mum spent a lot of time. My mum came down when she could with work, but Evan's mum spent a lot of time. But I was just so... I just didn't want to be there. I remember being at the shop when Em was, I think, 3 weeks old.
So you're already on the meds by this point?
I'm on the meds by this point,
Have they started to kick in or they were working already?
They were working already. Yeah. So I wasn't as bad, but I was still really bad. So I'm not sure what we should have done different looking back on that now. But we went up to the shops when she was about 3 weeks old. And by this point, I've been on the meds for about 2 weeks.
And they're definitely working.
Yeah. And I ran into a co-worker who I worked with before I left to have Bubba. And she said, oh, how's it all going? And I said, if I knew it was going to be like this, I wouldn't have done it. And she just looked at me like, oh, really? I don't know if she thought I was joking. And in my head, that's a perfectly reasonable answer.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really felt like that. I just, oh, my God.
Your truth.
Yeah. And when the midwife came to do like a home visit, I remember sitting in bed waiting for her to come. And I remember thinking, okay, she's going to notice how out of my depth I am. When she brings up anything to do with the hospital, I'm going to ask her, please take the baby. I will surrender the baby back to the hospital. I will sign whatever I need to sign. We can just pretend none of this happened. You take Bubba back and you give her to a mother who deserves her, can have her, can look after her, because I am not it.
That is so sad. I'm so sorry you felt that way.
Oh my God. At the time, that
it's like giving me goosebumps, sorry.
It makes me so sad to think about. And at the time, that was perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
That was just how I felt. I had no attachment to this baby. It was like someone had dropped this baby off to be like, figure this out. You know, you're never going to sleep again. Here you go. Yeah, it just didn't feel like she was my baby.
Yeah.
Just like a stranger's baby.
Yeah.
And there would just be times where Evan, like, he can only do so much, and he did everything. The middle of the night feeds. we would give her a bottle at night because the formula was thicker, so it made her sleep better.
Yep.
She had really bad reflux, so anytime she was put down after a feed, vomit everywhere, so you got to change the bed, her clothes, like you got to start all over again. Then she's hungry because she's vomited it all up, and we never got that checked by the doctor. We always just thought she'll grow out of it, and she did at 1, but it was a year. It was a year of that. But I remember Evan would, she'd wake up, we would both get up. From day dot with Emerson and with Camden, we have always done every single thing together.
Yeah.
We did shifts for one night with Camden and we both hated it.
Yeah.
We just wanted to be in each other's company. We would watch TV in our room while we were dealing with him or whatever. But with Em, so she'd wake up, I would be up, I'd make the bottle, I'd remake her bed, get it all ready, Evan would give her the bottle, I would do anything to busy myself so I didn't have to deal with her specifically. So I would make the bottle, I would make the bed, he would be giving her the bottle. While he was giving her the bottle and settling her, I would do housework, I would fold washing, I would unpack the dishwasher, like just anything, because I thought if I'm in that room and he says, oh, do you want to take over or can you take over? No, I'm not here for that.
Yeah. Did you realise at the time that that's what you were doing?
Not.
Or were you like, this is good for them to bond, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, no, I think it was, I think I just knew, like, I don't want a part of this. And I think Evan sort of knew that too. But because he can only do what he can do. You know, he doesn't really know what to do. So he really took on everything that, I guess, traditionally the mother would be doing. I know a lot of times the mother is the one who gets up by herself at night and she breastfeeds and all that, and it was just not like that with us because I just couldn't handle it. I would actually go to the other end of the house and sit in the room down the other end of the house and cry. And he would come down and get me when Emerson was back to sleep, and he would say, okay, you can come back to bed now.
That's really sweet.
We did that for such a long time. But she was not too bad of a sleeper. From about 8 weeks she was sleeping, you know, sort of 6 hours at a time, which was wonderful. We didn't get that lucky with Camden. It was like 10 months till he slept properly. So we just sort of, you fall into your groove, whatever. Evan's got to go back to work. I would go out and do things with her. Like we would go to rhyme time, we'd go to the shops. I didn't really want to sit around the house too much, but there was no feeling in it, no joy in it. It was just
this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and I just thought, I've got to take this fucking thing with me to the shops. So, like,
sorry, that's like the thought that lots of mums had in a completely different position than you were.
It's funny
fuck, all right, get in the car then.
Yeah, I got to pack this bag. Lug this fucking thing around because she can't stay home by herself. And I remember, like, this is jumping back a bit, I'm sorry, but when she was 9 days old, my nipples were bleeding from the breastfeeding. It was so painful. And she had swallowed a lot of my blood and I didn't realise. So she was vomiting pink and Evan and I have gone, shit. So we took her to the hospital in the middle of the night. Of course, by the time we get there, she's asleep, she's settled, she's fine. But we thought, we're here, we'll just stay here. This was when she was 9 days old. And I remember sitting in the ward in emergency with her and she was crying in the bed. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, I'm going to have to get up and comfort her because she's crying and I'm her mum. I really don't want to. So I had to get up. It's okay. And I'm sort of looking over my shoulder like, is this fucking doctor coming or what? Like,
sorry,
I don't want to be. No, it is funny to look back on. It's just, it's wild how out of it I was. Like, not wanting to comfort your baby. I just was like, shut up. Get the doctor in here, like, because they didn't want her to eat anything until they had checked her out. So I just was like, oh my god,
so she's hungry.
She's hungry. She wants mama. She just wants mama, and I don't want. And it's not her I don't want. It's I don't want any kid on me. I want to go home. I want to go to bed. I want to go back in time to where I slept good. I had no problems, sort of thing. So anyway, we sort of get through that, and it was about 18 months till I fully had that obsession with her, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And I do remember one point, she was about 5 weeks old, and whenever she would go to sleep, I would always put her down straight away during the day, because Evan sort of handled the overnight stuff. I would always put her down straight away. I was just like, I'm not holding you, just you're asleep, get over there, sort of thing. And she was about 5. Go on, get. kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she was about 5 weeks old, and I went to put her down, and then for some reason I just went, I actually might sit and hold you.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting, and I just remember crying because I was like, I actually want to hold my baby.
Oh.
And I never wanted to. I just wanted to be away from her all the time, and that was only one small moment. So we sort of went back to regular programming after that of me not wanting.
That's still a big
much
step
to
forward,
do, and
though,
it was
isn't it?
really, and I really remember that. Like, she's 4 now. This is 4.5 years ago, and I really remember being like, oh, I actually would like, would like to hold you, and like when babies sleep the first 2 weeks, they don't realise they're awake. They don't realise they're out. So they sleep pretty good. And then after 2 weeks, you put them down, they wake up.
Yeah,
sort of thing. And that always really frustrated me. And I used to push back on that so much rather than just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And that was I had resentment towards her because of that. Yeah. Because of everything. She'd completely ruined my life, essentially. Yeah. So I had a lot of resentment towards her, but not, I should make it clear, not her, like just a baby. It could have been any baby. Yeah. I just had resentment that this thing had come in and just completely ruined my life, and there's no going back. You've got to keep going forward with her.
Did you have, like, at any point, like, a realization, or did you understand that, like, it's not the situation, it's what's in your head? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I don't think so, though. I think I really believed that I'd made a mistake. Yeah. That I wasn't cut out for this. Yeah. I need to get out of here, fight or flight mode. I didn't have the knowledge or the experience to be able to think these are just thoughts. Yeah. This is not real. Yeah. I wasn't able to do that. Yeah. I would put her on the floor to play with the gym thing over her, and I would go and do something else. Like, obviously checking on her, make sure she's all right. Like, she wasn't neglected or anything, but instead of interacting with her, I would do that because I just thought, you just do what you're doing. I'm happy over here.
Let's live our lives.
Yeah. Let's just live our separate lives.
Sorry, that sounds so funny. You do you, girlfriend. I'll do
you're
me.
fine.
Yeah.
You've ruined my life, so I don't really want to be around you. I just fought against everything. Like, when she would go down for a nap in the day, I wish that I had been able to just go, it is what it is, let's watch a bit of TV. And I did eventually do that. But from 6 months to 18 months, so a year, I drove her to sleep during the day. Every single day for a year. I would put her in the car at nap time, go for like a 20-minute drive, come back, carefully get her out of the car, and I'd set up the lounge room before I left, and I'd come back and I'd sit on the lounge, watch TV. Yeah. And that was a good setup for us. It worked for us. It wasn't ideal. I didn't want to drive her to sleep, but that's where I really started to accept, this is, and when we would have the midwife visit, she would say, like, you just put them down when they're drowsy. And so I've locked on to that. Yeah. And I'd put her down drowsy. She'd scream. And I'd be like, this isn't fucking working. You just told me. You told me to put her down when she was drowsy. And it's not working. Look at her. She's screaming.
Yeah, she's awake.
Yeah, and I would get so angry. I just had so much anger. Yeah. I was just angry at the world. I was angry at everyone who, like, why did no one say anything about this before I had the baby? Yeah. Everyone says, oh, you'll be really tired, but you'll be okay. And, you won't even realize that you're so tired because it's just so nice and rewarding. And I didn't feel any of that at all. And I remember doing classes at the hospital during the pregnancy, my first pregnancy, and they had a woman speaking about her postnatal depression. And she said for the first 6 months of her baby's life, she just was really depressed, didn't want anything to do with the baby. And I remember leaving that class and crying because I thought, that poor woman, 6 months. And I remember saying to Evan, I'm not worried about that happening to me. That won't happen because I've always wanted this. Yeah. 18 months sort of thing. So it just fucking rolled me.
It's a long time as well.
A long time. And then it's just through work and support that I was able to heal enough to want another baby. Yeah. I did not want another baby until Em was nearly 2. Yeah. Like, I would have rather died than... Yeah, go. And I had suicidal thoughts as well. I didn't want to harm Em. There was no harmful thoughts around her.
Yeah.
But I just did not want to be here anymore. I would go to bed at night and I would think, I hope I don't wake up tomorrow. I just did not want to wake up. I just felt like every day was just another mountain to climb before I could go back to bed.
Yeah.
There was nothing to look forward to. I just didn't want to suffer through another day. I could not take another day. That's really how I felt.
Yeah.
And to have that for such a long time, that mindset, you just think that's just how you are.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm not fucking doing this again. Like, I've learnt my lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
And then...
Fool me once, shame on you. Yeah. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And then, so we just sort of... She got to an age where she was a bit easier.
Yeah.
And I thrive on routine.
Mm-hmm.
I think from childhood trauma as well, because I grew up in a home where there was domestic violence, a lot of uncertainty, sort of walking on eggshells. So, and you don't realize, but you really bring that into your own motherhood journey. So there was a lot of...
It's a foundation for mental health.
Yeah.
You probably just assume this is just my life.
Yeah, so, and I've only realised this in the last year since I've had Camden, but when I panic and I get into like that flight or fight mode, it's because I feel stuck, I'm not safe, I need help, I need to get out of here. That goes back to a feeling of being a child and being in a situation where I felt like I wasn't safe.
Yeah, right.
So as a child, I'm going, I'm not safe here, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And that carries over. And even like to this day, I can have a hard day with the kids and my brain instantly goes, you're not safe, you need to get out of here, everything's falling apart, and I just start catastrophizing.
Oh, wow.
And I still to this day do it, but I have the tools now to say stop.
Yeah.
You are safe, you're at home, the kids are both safe. It is a hard day, what can we do to make it easier?
Yeah.
Rather than just into a full-blown panic.
Yeah.
So something I have learnt through therapy, and I'm still learning, is that it's possible for two things to exist at the same time. So until I'd had kids, I'd never had someone in my life that I loved so much, but that I was so angry with at the same time, because there's such conflicting, opposing things. And through therapy, I've been able to start to learn that that's actually okay, because that's something in my head was something to be ashamed of, because... You know, you've got this beautiful baby. How can you be angry with it? Like, are you going to hurt your baby or something? And it's, no, not at all. Of course not. But
so you recognise that you loved her the whole time?
Yeah, I did. It was just, I loved her, but I was like, but I'm angry. So
I can't.
Maybe I don't love her.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now there's days, of course there's days, every day, there's a part of every day where it's like, I love you, but you better back up.
Yeah. A 4-year-old
like,
as well.
Stand down.
Yeah. I have definitely whipped out. I'm bigger than you. I am meaner than you. Don't you fucking try me today.
I literally sometimes with Em, I'll be like, you want to fucking go outside? We need to talk about this clearly.
Yeah.
And she's just next level sass as well. So gets it from me. But yeah, just those two things can exist together. Yeah. And that's something that I think women, like, we get really ashamed of that.
Not everything's black and white.
Yeah, and we get really ashamed to say, you know, I hate this.
Yeah.
You know what? I hate when Evan's home, I get him to change Camden's nappies because I don't want to... Camden wriggles and he tries to get away and he thinks it's funny and, like, that's fucking annoying. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what mummies don't feel safe enough to share, those parts of... being able to just come out and say, I actually fucking hate this right now. Like, obviously I love my kids, but I hate fucking doing everything for them.
Yeah.
I hate doing everything for my kids.
Yeah.
There's just so many things, and I really just want, like, I still don't feel 100% safe saying those sort of things, but I'm pretty open and I'm pretty just bleh, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's probably one thing I think as mums in society, we aren't given that safe space.
Because I don't think things will ever change and become safe if we don't express these
Yeah,
feelings.
exactly.
So taking that first step.
Yeah, and because I feel like mothers, they feel like they're going to be judged if they say, look, I really hate this. So instead they'll say, oh, this was challenging, but it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
And that's where we've got to work on, isn't it? Just, you can hate what you're doing, but you can love your kids, and then you can love doing the nappies or, you know, whatever it is. Like getting up. I know I've seen things on Instagram where it's like, it's just a joy to get up in the night to my kids and know that I needed it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
I used to think to myself when my girls were little, at least you're not dead.
Yeah, and I would think that too. But you can only think that for so long.
Yeah.
When they're getting up consistently every night, you're like, fuck.
What is going on? Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's been lovely to hear your perspective, and I know that so many women are going to get so much out of this. So
thank you so much for having me. I hope I didn't say anything too scary or
not at
ramble
all.
or anything like that.
Not
but
at all.
I think there would be so many women out there that might hear even just a little part and go, oh my God, me too.
Yeah.
And because I feel like that when I hear someone else's story, I think, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No worries,
Oh my gosh.
You're welcome.